Hey everyone, it's Vesper Star here with another video, and I'm gonna quote Gerard Way again, and I am not okay. Because the long-awaited sequel to Angels Before Man, I finally read through it. It came out a few months ago, and it took me a little bit, but I finally got through it, and I'm ready to talk about it. Angels and Man by Raphael Nicolas. Oh my gosh, this book. Oh, Raphael is such a talented author, and I'm glad to call him an acquaintance. We're Twitter mutuals because I'm also a author. As you can see here, I got the hardcover so I could get both covers. Let me just, because this is absolutely gorgeous. I wanted like both. Because the hardcovers have, the dust jacket has this image, which is very similar to the original Angels Before Man cover. And then the paperbacks and the hardcovers have this styled image. You know, you can see Azazel and Shemyaza here. So, what is this beautiful book about? Some of you might be asking if you don't follow the series or haven't read it. In a similar vein to how Angels Before Man was a queer retelling of Lucifer's Fall, this is a queer retelling of the Book of Enoch, or the flood in the biblical lore. So, what a lot of people don't know is the reason that God flooded the earth was because the angels he sent down to watch over humanity, who are appropriately known as the Watchers, fell in love with human women and procreated with them, creating Nephilim, or the giants. And so God flooded the earth to rid the world of kind of the Nephilim, and humans had started to get a little mean. So that is actually what this covers, and I am a huge lover. And I don't know if I've talked about it a lot on my channel before, but I absolutely love the Watchers so much. Like, they're so important to me. You know, like especially Shemyaza. I've included him in my own spiritual practice a lot, and he's just, I'm so fascinated by him and the others. And this is actually the first time I've ever seen Shemyaza depicted in a piece of media, even though he is the leader of the Watchers. He actually isn't that well known of a spirit, fallen angel, what have you. Azazel, though, everyone knows Azazel. So essentially, Angels and Man takes place probably like 1,000 or so years after the first book. So after Lucifer fell from grace and becomes Satan. So heaven right now is kind of not the best place to be. It's very oppressive, and Azazel's having a bad time because a lot of the angels that didn't fall but kind of did things they deemed as bad during the war, they are deemed as sinners, and the other angels just treat them horribly. And Shemyaza, he's doing fine in heaven. You know, he's not labeled as a sinner because he didn't really partake in anything in the war. But he has the idea to bring heaven back to its greatness. So he goes to God and suggests that he and some of the other angels go down to earth to teach the humans, who this is also past the Adam and Eve thing, so they're also kind of labeled as sinners, to teach the humans about the greatness of God or what have you. So, and he agrees, and then so they get the 200 watchers together. Some of them are the sinner angels, so Azazel goes as well. And so essentially they go down to earth and meet all the humans, and it's the Book of Enoch. They see those women, and except for Azazel, who, you know, starts noticing those human men, and much in the vein of Angels Before Man, we get to see them kind of get from point A to point B. It's another one where it's difficult because you know how it's going to end up with the flood and very tragic things happening to these poor angels. So I absolutely loved this book. It still took me like 2 months to read, but not because I was like scared to continue like in Angels Before Man, but it's just, you know, it's kind of a thicker book, and Raphael has very poetic way with words, and it's very wordy, and I started working a lot more, but I eventually got it through, and just like the first book, it has stuck with me, and I think about it all the time. That being said, I love how the Watchers are portrayed in this book. My biggest hang-up with Angels Before Man is that it still villainized Lucifer in the end, which the author had his own reasonings for why he made the choices he did with writing the book, and understandable. But I still had a huge hang-up that I didn't really like that he was still villainized. But this book is very sympathetic to the Watchers because they did like love their families, and it's not necessarily their fault that, you know, their offspring ended up being like that. And it doesn't even really demonize the giants either. It's not their fault that they're born and just ravenous and they can't get full because, you know, they're a mixture of divine and mortal, essentially. And I love that so much. It means so much to me that they, you know, that the Watchers, you know, they're so sympathetic. And I love how Shemyaza especially is portrayed in this book. It just felt right. You know, a lot of times Shemyaza is kind of seen as he's a knowledge deity. So he's just shown as very almost stoic or cold a lot. But he's just out of his element. He's very, for lack of a better word, human. And I love that so much. He's not perfect, and I love him for it. The stuff with Shemyaza, I'm biased, but was some of my favorite stuff. And we get to see Rosier and Asmodeus again in this book a little bit, and they're also a couple of my favorite characters. So it was great to see them. And book 3 is going to cover Revelation, and I'm terrified, but also excited. This is literally like, I have not been so excited for books to release than I have been with this series. And I almost didn't want to read Angels and Man because I read Angels Before Man, even though I absolutely loved it. I read it in a point of time my mental health wasn't the greatest, so it kind of affected me. And I was not doing well for like 6 months after I read it, just because of some of the stuff that happened in that book. So when I went through the stages when Raphael announced this book, because we all thought ABM was going to be like a standalone, but it's a trilogy. But when he announced this book, originally I was super excited because, oh my gosh, it's about the Watchers, and there's hardly any like media depictions of them, especially Shemyaza, like I said. And I, you know, initially excitement, but then those old feelings popped up. And I do want to say that I did love Angels Before Man, but again, mentally, I just wasn't fully able to handle it, so that's on me, not the author or anything. So there was a point of time where I thought maybe I shouldn't read Angels and Man just because, but then, you know, I saw all my Twitter mutuals, my writing buddies, and everyone just being so excited for book 2, and the more I saw like snippets and clips of it, because I'm subscribed to Raphael's newsletter, and so there were some previews and stuff, I was just getting so excited. And again, like I said, I love Shemyaza so much that I was like, okay, I want to see how they depict him and everything, and just how the book is. So, you know, by the time it was getting close to release, I was sure. I was like, I need to buy it. I need to read it. I'm so excited about it. So I did, and, you know, the author has said that this book is a lot sadder than the first one. And I agree, but it didn't make me spiral like the first one. This was like a sadness I could handle. The first one was just really, I had personal reasons, and again, I just wasn't in the headspace for it. Even though, you know, my first book review, I raved about it. That's still true, but I just went through like the motions. And so that being said, I honestly do think that I prefer Angels and Man over Angels Before Man. Like, this is probably one of my favorite books right now. And it's like, Raphael has improved as a writer so much. Because ABM had some scenes that were kind of, with how Raphael writes, they were kind of a bit confusing. But there wasn't too much of that purple prose in this. It's still there, but to a point where it's not oversaturated with it. However, I will say, I am judging these books solely on the original draft of Angels Before Man, because that's what I read. Raphael did edit and make like an extended version with extra scenes and stuff, the first book, and re-release it, and that's what you'll get now when you buy it. So I am planning to rebuy Angels Before Man in the hardcover, so I can get that new cover. And I'm going to reread it. I mean, like, when I'm through my to read pile, I'm going to reread it and judge it on the current edition standards, because I feel like I can't properly compare these two since I haven't read the new version of this book. But I do still love them so much, and they're just great reads if you don't mind the, like, being, like, whipped around by your emotions. But yeah, I will probably make a follow-up video once I reread Angels Before Man, but that's probably going to be a while now. And when the third one comes out, I'll definitely make a video on that. And I was thinking, after I read all 3 of them, I might make like a video going over the series as a whole and what I think about it. But right now, together, beautiful. They work as a series. And that's also the thing, is I feel like Angels Before Man was a bit harsher on my emotions because I thought it was a standalone. Because, you know, it ends up so tragically, and thinking you're never gonna see these characters again or get closure was rough. But, a little bit of spoiler, but like Lucifer and the other fallen angels who are, you know, now demons, they're doing fine in this book. Like, they're happy-ish. I mean, trauma, and there's some rough things, especially with like Rosier and Asmodeus, but they're happy. Ball is living his best life. So there is that. And I'm a member of Raphael's Patreon. Well, no, I'm not gonna spoil any a thing about book 3 or anything, because I really, I really value this author as a person. But if you want behind the scenes stuff about this series, I highly recommend you subscribe to Raphael's newsletter. And he also has a Patreon where he posts extras and sneak peeks and behind the scenes stuff, including like canon and non-canon short stories that take place in this universe. I'll probably put a link in the description because I want my writing friends to succeed in life just as I would want to succeed. So yeah, I have so many thoughts on this book series, and it's probably one of my favorite things ever. I can't wait to get the hardcover of ABM because I want to reread it in this better headspace than I am. And it probably won't be as bad since I know what's gonna happen. Like I said before, like, you know how it's gonna end, but getting there is kind of the rough part. So I'm excited to reread this book and see where it differs and see all that extra stuff. But I think that's it for now. It took a while for this video to get out because it took me so long to read this book, but I hope it was worth the wait. Thank you all so much for watching. If you read either of these books, let me know what you think. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye!